Hello everyone, welcome to the BBSim Brigade call for Friday, November 22nd. Um, I'm sharing my screen, I hope everyone can see it. We only have two topics for today's meeting, so it's probably going to be a pretty quick one. The first one is purely organizational. At NF, we are in the process of moving from GoToMeeting to Zoom. So it's possible that the next meeting is going to be on a different bridge. But if that happens, I'll make sure to send out a mail with the new link for the meeting. And the second thing I wanted to look at today was making a little bit of a Jira review because we haven't been in touch that much during the last week. So it's for all of us to better understand what's the state and what we need to do next. So if I order the items by priority, we have a couple bugs at the top. I'm looking at vol 1977 that has been open for a while. It's pretty easy to reproduce, but I'm having an hard time to find out the source of this issue. Basically, if you repeat the sanity test twice on the same installation of Volta, the second times it reliably fails. Sometimes it doesn't fail the second time, but it fails the third time. And what I consistently see is that one info packet gets dropped, so authentication never completes. There have been few cases in which authentication went through and then the HTTP packets got dropped. The error I'm seeing is an issue in the core to locate the correct device handler for a device. So there probably some state left somewhere, but I'm still it's still a complete theory. Has anyone seen this same behavior?
I haven't tried. This is Matt, by the way. I haven't tried with BBSim, but I did recently try on a hardware setup, deleting and re-adding an OLT. I only did it once, and it didn't have any problems. So I guess I'm curious about what about the sanity test it's doing more than just deleting the OLT. Is it tearing down containers, or is it changing other things that may drive this out?
No, it's really just removing the device both from Volta and from Onus. That's all it's doing.
Okay, and from Onus.
Yeah. So are you running on Kubernetes with the API server or on Docker Compose? Because when I tried on Docker Compose, it took like 3 or 4 tries before it failed.
Okay. Yeah, I only tried it once, and it was on Docker Compose without API server. So that could play into it as well. So I can try again with a bigger setup with Kubernetes, see what happens.
Yeah. So
Don, I did it several times in a row. I'm working on OF Agent, kind of unrelated, but I didn't really have any trouble adding and deleting devices. I mean, back and forth quite a bit.
Okay, that's interesting. But were you running with the new OF agent, the one you are writing in Go, or with the Python-based one?
The one I'm writing in Go.
Okay.
But even that one is up against the hardware OLT as well. So
correct.
I guess I'm trying to get around the, what is the robot test doing? Compare it to with or without API server. Compare it to, is there something BBSim is doing or not doing differently? So yeah, there's a few other aspects of this we can try in different configurations to see if we can drive it out.
Yep. Yeah, I can probably try this on hardware next week and see if I get different result. Looking at the BBSim behavior, I don't think BBSim is doing something weird because I really see the packets getting stuck, but it's possible that is BBSim triggering this behavior.
Yeah. Well, and that's fine. And it's not like we've run this particular scenario deleting numerous times in a row. So it could be that it reveals itself only after a half a dozen times. But in any case, it's just more data to kind of throw against this.
Yeah. I suspect that is not a single issue because I've seen it behaving in different way, in different configuration with the API server, without, in Docker Compose, and so it's possible that there are a few different issues that get brought up by different configuration. So.
And speaking of API server, given we recently decided to have our primary deployment model to be without API server, I'm not sure if Kind Volta, I think it recently changed to where you could deploy it without API server. It would be worth trying it in that way, given that's how all of the hardware tests and other automation tests are probably going to go.
Yeah, so I'm still trying it with Kind Volta, but now I'm installing it with this only one option that deploys a single read-write core and no API server.
Okay.
So it runs on Kubernetes, but is the same configuration as the one you get in Docker Compose, basically.
Okay. Yeah, that was just wanted to bring that up for anybody else trying to run this. I think we've kind of all decided to, for now, move off of the API server-based setup for simplicity's sake.
Yeah.
So, Matteo, just one thing I could say, because I was testing this reboot, adding this reboot functionality to BBSim, but so what the tests that I was doing were without like the ONOS and Silas configuration, so just basically activating and deactivating an OLT and the connected ONUs to Volta, and to removing the device and adding the device. So with my current code, that seems to work kind of fairly consistently. So, or I didn't run into any issues. So comparing that then to the setup which seems to be here, it seems like probably one of the kind of higher level of things might be the ones which are getting stuck then.
Okay,
which are causing this issue with the state which you mentioned.
Yeah, just to make sure the code you mean is this one in CByte 7.3.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Okay, I'll give a try to this one because I've seen you made some changes to how the ONUs are removed when the OLT goes down, so that may be part of the issue.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay, let me just take a note about this. Which number is?
There's a bit of history on the reboot as well as to why it's there. It's been there for probably a couple of years now. Long story short, it was the easiest way we could get the OLT to shut down certain processes that may or may not at the time been able to shut down cleanly. So it was kind of a heavy-handed way of putting an end to the connectivity and the ability for Val and the agent to run. So for the purposes of BBSim, I think as long as it cleans up after itself and I guess does a lot of housekeeping, you literally don't have to reboot. I haven't looked at the patch yet, but it's probably worth mentioning.
Yeah. So I think, Zdravko, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with this change, with the CByte 7.3 change, the container will actually not reboot, but will just restart from a fresh state.
Yeah, exactly. That's kind of just terminates the gRPC server, does a little bit of cleanup, and then brings everything back again. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. All right, good deal.
Okay, thanks everyone for the comments. Then keep looking at the priority. We have all 2252 ONUs stuck in activate state. I think this was reported from Andy, and it's a pretty new one. So I'm going to try investigate this. I've personally never seen this issue, but we'll take a look and start looking at the logs in this patch. If anyone sees a similar behavior, please feel free to add the comments and logs to the same issue, because it will be easier for us to debug it.
Yes. Hi, Matteo. This is Joe. Yeah, this was a lingering problem in the new job that was just initiated on the it's called scalability job, and it's running with 16 ONUs, and it was currently it was failing quite a bit. Now I'm looking at the what's happening lately over the last couple of days, and there seems to be more successes than not. I'm not sure if anything's changed or not, but if you look at the previous ones, 66 down, 57, for the most part, that was what was happening. When you see the 4 failures, it was because the one ONU would fail to go from activating to active state.
Okay.
So
I'll take a look at what happened in that time span.
Yeah.
And see if there is any related patch that could have solved the issue without even knowing it.
Yeah, and another thing, I'm not sure if we're gonna cover that, but what I was seeing in my VM before this was deployed on Jenkins, as another separate issue, when we were deleting the OLT, there was sometimes, maybe 1 out of 5 kind of thing. There was one ONU that would be left behind, would not get deleted. I'm not sure if that's, these other issues, this other activating issue is failing to expose that. However, I'm seeing a lot of good runs lately, so maybe this was just something I was seeing in my VM, but
so like the activation is fine, but when you remove the device, then one ONU is left behind.
Yes, exactly. Yeah,
and
those were the 2,
and that's reliable. So that happens most of the time.
1 out of 5 kind of thing. 1 out of 5 runs, I was seeing that. But that's why I was interested in getting pushed to Jenkins. But like I say, we were seeing for the most part this issue with activating / active block on one ONU. So maybe that was hiding the delete stage, which happens later. So those were the 2 issues that started to be exposed when we started running the Jenkins jobs with the my first 2 test cases with 16 ONUs.
Okay, that's good. Yeah, I'll assign this to me, and I'll start taking a look at this. Hopefully today, if not today, early next week.
Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, looking at the next items, we have vol 1860. I think this is Matt story that we discussed last week or Monday. Do you want to talk a little bit about it, Matt?
Sure. So this one specifically relates to ONU adapter reconciliation, cases where the ONU adapter itself restarts and it needs to remember everything it knew about before. This specifically is about storing the MIB in a way that makes sense for both speedy access for day-to-day operations, but then also for pulling it all back into memory for reconciliation. So I'm finally to the point now where I'm going to start working on reconciliation, and this will have to kind of be solved with it. In regards to Monday, kind of bigger picture, we discussed just in general the ONU startup and discovery process and how to improve that and make it more efficient. And part of that was the realization that on ONU discovery, if the make, model, and software version number for ONUs are all the same, and we have 1,000 ONUs in the field that are all the same make, model, and software version, the discovery process for all of them will return the same set of managed entities, the number of TCONs, the IDs, the number of uniports, and there's no reason to really rediscover the same thing that you already know. So another ticket that's probably in here somewhere is the kind of formalizing of the design to have an ONU template for a particular make, model, and software version, so that if your ONU matches that, we don't have to run discovery. We can literally just jump straight ahead to basically initial MIB downloaded and proceed with provisioning, saving a lot of OMCI back and forth. So that's what Monday was about. I plan on starting on that design, not next week because I'm on vacation next week, but the week after, and then probably presenting it to TST like on Thursday. But yeah, with this one, it's really about reconciliation and ONU adapter restarts, which I've kind of been putting off for a little while, but I plan on getting that taken care of as well.
Okay, thanks, Matt. Okay, then we have two issues that are unassigned, marked with high priority. Vol 728, I think, is the first time I see it in this dashboard, so probably sort of added it sometime back. I'm going to look at this to get a little more context of what it is. While SIBA 872,
yeah, that one, it's like every subtask.
Yeah, everything is done.
I was saying on the previous one, all the subtasks were like two, right? So again, with some of these that are really, really old, you kind of have to wonder, was it already just taken care of?
Yeah.
Yeah, for what it's worth.
I'll make a note to myself to go back and check. Okay, then we have SIBA 872. That is just an additional check to BBSim. Basically, as we wait for the DHCP flow on the Uniport before start sending DHCP packets, we should also make sure that we have the trap flow on the NNI before sending packets. This is not because BBSim cares about the flows, but to better reflect a physical scenario where without these flows, the packets will not go anywhere. If there is anyone that is interested in picking up this issue, please let me know. It shouldn't be too hard to integrate it. Oh, here is your design for the ONU MIB reconciliation you were talking before, Matt.
Yep, that's the one. I'll plan on having something to present week after next.
Yeah, that sounds good. I'm just going to link the two together so it's easier to link. So it's easier to find.
So I don't know if it was this one that it was linked to.
Oh, yeah, no, I got the wrong.
I don't know.
This
I
one.
don't know if they're related. I mean, I guess to the storage one, yeah, I think it is somewhat related because we're going to have to store the template. But yeah, that's fine. Go ahead and link it.
I'll just put relates to. So 2276. So this should not block anything in the workflow, but it's just a link for makes it easier for people to jump from one to the other. Okay, then we have two issues that Zdravko kindly volunteered to pick up for the near future. That are SIBA 882. Basically, we figure out that once we start scale testing the system, maintaining different CDs configuration will be a little bit of a pain, because they will change even for the same number of ONU. If you distribute them differently across PON ports, the SADIC's configuration will have to change. And so the combination of configuration we may need to have, it will be just too hard to maintain. And BBSim already knows all the information that it needs to generate a SADIS configuration and expose a SADIS server. We figure that is worth it to add that feature. Is there any question on this?
Not right now from my side.
Okay, good. And then SIBA 884 is a very simple fix, because in BAL 3.1 the name technology reported by the board is as a different name to BAL.6. We are all migrating the new version of BAL. It just makes sense to move BBSim to report the same technology board. This should be a very easy fix. Okay, this is another new one that appeared recently. Is Stefan on the call, or anyone knows Stefan or anything about this issue? Oh, I think this is more a Volta related thing.
Yeah, it is. I think there's been a fair amount of back and forth on how to interact with the core for these high ONU numbers. This one may have a bit of history, but it would be good to kind of know where he's at, because it is marked in progress. And I thought there was a commit at one point. But yeah, this one may be one that's worth kind of making sure our current understanding is good with both Stefan and Mahir as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I might need to look through those comments.
Yeah, I'll look through the comments and I'll touch base with them.
Yeah, some of it started getting close to design changes, and there may have been a Slack conversation about it maybe last week or so. I vaguely recall, but yeah, this is something that's kind of an ongoing thing in terms of just how to get more out of the core for the high ONU counts.
Yeah. So SIBA 550, there are some exceptions that appear in the AAA application. This is assigned to Sorav. I'm not actually sure Sorav will ever have the time to go back to coding. But the good news is that we have Jono back, so I'll be able to go and stalk Jono to look at this.
Was this the limiting factor for load testing in the 1.6 timeframe? Was this what ultimately caused the ceiling of capacity
No, I
Just
don't think this was a
generally
block.
curious about comparing 1.x to 2.x. Have we finally exceeded the 1.x, limit more generally?
Yeah, I think we exceeded that limit, and this issue in the rest of the stack are starting to pop up too. I don't think this is a very big issue. I think Saurav was mentioning the other day something about a map being too small in the application, but that's just a matter of resizing that and fixing it. So I'm going to make sure that SIBA 550 gets taken up by someone. And I think this is not affecting my ears scale test yet, because as far as I know, is only validating that the ONUs successfully go through the OMCI status, but they are not doing any AAA or DHCP testing. SIBA 845 is an issue that Mayer created because he's running BBSim directly on the host, and when you force it to stop, it doesn't clean up after himself. I have a little bit of discussion with him to actually remove the virtual interface creation from the BBSim code and move it inside the Docker file, so that if you run it on a physical host, you can just set them up manually and forget about them. And the same will probably be for the DHCP server that will be started inside the Docker container and not by the BBSim code. So if you run it on bare metal, you can just preset the correct environment and then run BBSim. But this is not a very high priority for now, so it's fine to have it unassigned. Is William there with you, Matt?
No, not today. But this one right here is still a known issue. This is kind of an ongoing thing where we're trying to get the ONU counts up and get things stabilized in under 15, right? The ultimate goal being the 515 minutes. So this one somewhat relates to the initial MIB downloading and not having to go through all that effort to get those ONUs going. Where he's tested yesterday, because he had a kind of a quick proof of concept going where we skipped the MIB upload, he's now running into a lot of core interaction limits that kind of Mahir has been seeing. So long story short, the issue's still there. We've got some ideas on what to do on the ONU, but the bigger question may be about what to do with interacting with the core.
Okay, thanks. For SIBA 551, I think this is exactly the same topic as 550. I'll touch base with Jono and see if he can pick this up and take a look. The next two are mine. The device handling is still open. It should be closed soon because Zdravko is taking care of this last sub-bullet and the patch is up for review. While regarding the scale test, we are in a pretty good state. The only thing that is pending there, that is, I will say, a minor thing, is that not operators are using EPOL in DHCP, so we want to make them optional in BBR2. But I will say this is a low priority feature, because once we can prove that BBSim can scale up to a certain number with EPOL and DHCP, is guaranteed that it can do the same without them. And this one, the Vault 2.0 functional test case radius authentication in BBSim with 16 ONU. I think this one is done, isn't it, Gilles?
I think no. That's the next one I'm working on.
Oh, okay.
That's the next. Yeah, the first two. So the pre-provisioning and discovery are done.
Okay.
But this is the next one I'm working on. Yep.
Okay, so the scale testing that is now running in Jenkins doesn't perform EPOL and DHCP. It only performs discovery.
That is correct.
Okay. Thanks for clarifying.
Okay, no problem.
Okay, I think with the other important thing that is going on is the IGMP support in BBSim. I'm actually going to move the priority of this one to medium, because this is something that the ONOS FCAPS brigade needs to start implementing their SOIs. And I know that that Shubham made some progress on it, and we have a patch that is up to review.
Yes, Matteo. Today I have submitted the new patch. Please have a look at it.
Yep. So let me just link.
And there was already one ticket, SEBA 660, for this purpose. So I have assigned it to myself.
Sorry?
Yeah, this ticket, I have assigned this ticket to myself actually. I was about to create a new one, but then I found this one. So
okay. Yeah, that's perfect. If I can ask you one thing, I'll take a look at the code today. But once we are done, if you can remove the work in progress from the patch and just add in somewhere in the commit message the Jira item SEBA 660,
and
that will be linked and show up here. So it's a little easier to keep track of what is happening.
Yeah, sure. I'll do that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
So I will say that, like, looking at this graph that Zach created, we are on a good track. We had a little bit of slowdown in the last week, but that's fine. We are making good progress, both in terms of opening issues and feature requests and catching up with them. The delta is not expanding, so I will say it's good. There are a bunch of other stories, most of which I think are related to the new discussion on the MIB management. So I'll have to go and look a little bit at what's the current status of this and what to do with this. Is there anything else we need to discuss today?
The only other thing I was going to bring up, just for general knowledge, is there are a couple of patches upcoming that are going to change the offset of the NNI ports and ONU IDs to allow for the larger GPON physical host. And what that really means is the NNI port number will no longer be 65536. It'll be some other number, much bigger, and will affect all of the testing or any local environments that we have set up in their status config. I'm not sure when that patch is going to go in. I think there was some talk with Suchitra about maybe next week. The timing might have to be just so that the sanity test and all still work. But just want to let folks know that the NNI port number will be changing and your status config will be affected.
Yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Matt. I think I've seen an email going around on the Volta mailing list about that.
Okay, thanks, Matt. This is the first I hear about it, but I'm definitely going to be impacted. But yes, I'll heads up now for that change to go through. Thanks.
Yeah, and I think the number is now fairly. It's going to be something around 100,000 something for the NNI port.
Yeah, 1048576.
Yep.
So 1 million. Yeah, basically it's big enough where it's 1048576. And that's just a starting point. So at some point when we have multiple NNIs, that'll just be the first one, and then they'll increment from there. But yeah, it was needed for more ONUs in the bit field and needed for more PON ports in the bit field.
Yep. Yeah. Another thing that is slightly related to this is that for now BBSim supports a single NNI port and a single UNI per ONU. So I'll need to talk with Saurabh and probably the Big Five or Tiger team to figure out what is the priority to add support for multiple units in BBSim, because that will be a fairly big amount of work because it involves touching the OMCI part that for now is still the canned libraries that we always used in BBSim. Okay, thank you everyone for joining the call, and talk to you soon. I'll try to spend some time today in reviewing the pending patches and leaving comments when needed. Have a good weekend and a good Thanksgiving for whoever is on vacation next week.
Oh yeah. Are we? There's no meeting. Is there a meeting next week?
Oh,
or there won't be.
No, that's a good point. There won't be a meeting next week because it's a national holiday in the US.
Yeah. Okay, so you'll make adjustment to the calendar or whatever.
I'll make adjustment to the calendar, and I'll make sure to send out a reminder on the mailing list.
Okay.
I won't be available for the meeting, but I'll have an eye out for emails. So if there is anything, just feel free to drop me a message, and I'll make sure to reply.
All right. Thanks, Matteo.
Bye, everyone.
Bye now.
See you guys.